Kent State, this is wild. Kent State has the lowest possibility of winning its league out of all the FBS teams, the lowest betting odds. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit the red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also the like button too, and follow on Twitter/X. That fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, in our third installment of What's Vegas Thinking, we are going to go over things. First of all, remember 2 weeks ago on the day that Oregon and Washington decided to leave the Pac-12 for the Big Ten, I released a video about my Heisman futures betting, and unfortunately that video did not get very many views. Last week I talked about some teams who I thought were going to have over-unders. I like me some Colorado, I like me some Michigan, and so on. Now we're going to talk about who's going to be winning these leagues. So not just the regular season, not wins in the regular season like we did last week. We're going to be talking about what's Vegas thinking going behind who's going to win each league. Remember here, this counts not only the regular season, but also winning the championship game. There are certain conferences out there that still have divisions, certain that don't. We're going to go through that. Let's get into that right now, starting in alphabetical order with the ACC. All right, starting off with the ACC, and it's really, really simple. When you look at the numbers here at the top, there's basically two heavy favorites. It's Florida State, it's Clemson. Now, that doesn't mean that the other teams that don't have a chance down here, it's a miracle chance. We got ourselves a North Carolina State replacing Devin Leary. We got North Carolina with Drake May. We got Mario Cristobal down there at Miami, and then we have Louisville rounding it out for the teams that have a miracle chance, but they have somewhat of a chance. But Florida State with Jordan Travis and Clemson with Cade Klubnik and all those studs that they are the clear favorites when we check out the lines. So for the ACC, like we said, the favorite right now is Clemson, plus 140. And then you go over this here and you see the fact that we've got, Florida State, they're plus 160. And then it's North Carolina, it's a pretty big chunk. So plus 1,000 to North Carolina, Louisville, and NC State and Miami. And then obviously goes to Pitt. And then Duke is plus 4,000. I mean, over down here, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Virginia have basically no shot at this point. But we see the fact that right now looks like Florida State, Clemson, they're favored. Me personally, I would think Florida State just because I like me some Jordan Travis. I like a lot of things in that respect there. But you never really know, man. At the same time, we still see two heavy favorites at the top. All right, up next is the American or the AAC. Now at the top here, they've got five that are relatively close. So they've got Tulane, SMU, UTSA, Memphis, and FAU. And then the rest of the league falls off a cliff. As you remember last year, Sugar Bowl champs Tulane beating USC. They are coming back, returning a lot of offensive linemen, returning a couple defensive guys, returning their quarterback too. However, SMU, UTSA, Memphis, and FAU bringing up the rear. You can see the fact that if you look at this here, plus 200 on Tulane, plus 320 on SMU, plus 450 on UTSA, plus 600 on Memphis, and then plus 650 on FAU. However, next after that is Navy with plus 3,000. So you can see that definitely there's some favorites down here. I think that obviously you wouldn't want to touch these plus 3,000s. There's too much variables to kind of go through with the rest of these teams down here. However, you see UTSA, Memphis, FAU. Those are some good picks down there. SMU and Tulane. Tulane won the league last year. Not a bad idea, but you put $100 down, you would win $200, so you'd win $300 and net up $200. Not a bad option there for Tulane. Again, I like these some offensive lines. They look like they've got another league coming up here. But again, it's pretty close. Those five at the top, and then everybody else is away from there. All right, one of the very few conferences that still maintains conference is the Big Ten. We see the fact that Ohio State and Michigan are up at the top. And then Penn State and then Wisconsin follow with some distance. And then Iowa has an outside chance. So you're thinking there, you think, why the hell are Wisconsin and Iowa in the runnings there? You have to remember here, all Wisconsin and Iowa have to do is get to the championship and then win. They have a shot at winning the Big Ten. Again, they don't have to go through the Big Ten East like the Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State do. So they have an outside shot at that. But again, Ohio State, Michigan, the clear favorites in this instance. And still, nobody has explained it to me. For some reason, Ohio State is a favorite over Michigan. Michigan gets everybody back and they play Ohio State at home. I know Ohio State has tons of dudes out here. However, Michigan, it just has their number. All that Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, those teams all play each other late in the season. We'll see how it goes, man. But those three teams are going to decide the East, and I bet the East is going to win the league. Remember, though, Wisconsin plus 800, Iowa plus 1,200, and then you get down to Minnesota plus 3,000. There is a small chance Iowa and Wisconsin, whoever wins that game, they go to the championship game. All they have to do is beat whoever the teams above them, beat them once, and they win the league. Me, though, I like me some Michigan. All right, in the Big 12, and for the swan song for Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12, their last song and dance here, Texas is the favorite, followed by OU in their last year in the league before they head to the SEC. 2022 champion Kansas State is third, while Texas Tech is somewhat behind. That's kind of the order they have going there. So Texas is paying out even money. You bet 100, you win 100. You bet 10, you win 10, whatever the situation is there. Oklahoma's a little bit behind. And then Kansas is plus 500 and Texas Tech is plus 1,000. And then you get into the fact that Baylor 1,800, TCU 1,600, Iowa State plus 6,000, Houston plus 10,000. So they're not very big fans of those teams heading into it. So we'll see Texas has a lot of hype behind them. Their offense is going to be super explosive. Their defense we'll see what happens with the defense. I do know that there's a lot of offenses in here that could give them some trouble, but all they have to do is get to the conference championship game and win that to win the Big 12. So Texas, Oklahoma at the top. Kansas State looks pretty good. I don't know. I know they lost Deuce Vaughn and everything like that, but Kansas State's not a bad option, man. All right, Conference USA is a wild one. So they have 9 full members right now. Western Kentucky and newcomer Liberty are the top favorites. They're the clear favorites at this point. However, if you look at the betting odds, there's only 7 teams out of 9 that are eligible. And the reason why is because Jackson State and Sam Houston State, they're moving up from the FCS ranks. They're in a probationary period in 2023. They're not able to win the league. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter how they do. They could both go 8-0 and 7-1. They're not going to the conference championship game. My best bet, Western Kentucky or Liberty are, and we'll see how they do. You said before, Conference USA, they're plus 130 to Western Kentucky, plus 250 to Liberty, and then 600 to Mid-Tennessee State. It's 800 to Louisiana Tech, plus 1,000 to UTEP, plus 2,000 to New Mexico State, and plus 5,000 to FIU. West Kentucky is the easy favorite, and then Liberty comes up between them. And again, who knows, man? Liberty, they were independent last season. That's not a bad option to me. I don't know much about the Conference USA, but I'd say just from a new team in the league, look at Liberty, man. I'm telling you. All right, and now we have the MAC, and the MAC is the highest discrepancy between the local teams and the regional team. I mean, you could say maybe the Sun Belt and the SEC, that's fair, but the MAC and the Big Ten are kind of like that too. That's the reason why the MAC, none of the teams were targets of the Big Ten, but Toledo and Ohio, the University of Toledo and then Ohio are the favorites in the league. Kent State, this is wild. Kent State has the lowest possibility of winning its league out of all the FBS teams, the lowest betting odds. 2022 head coach Sean Lewis was hired as OC at Colorado. They basically lost the entire team. If you look at the odds out here, it's not a bad option. Put $10 on it, see what happens. Check out these odds for not only Toledo and Ohio, but last placed Kent State. So right here at the top, we obviously have plus 170 Toledo and then plus 280 Ohio. Buffalo's plus 650. Miami, Ohio's plus 800. Eastern Michigan's plus 850. And then we get into the thousands. Plus 15,000 on Kent State. I'm telling you, dude, if somebody put $10 on that and they won, you'd win $1,500. You're probably going to lose $10, but it's an interesting bet there. They're the lowest chance of winning the league out of all these leagues here. I don't know, dude. Action, crazy action like that. We'll see, man. Might not be a bad idea to take a little flyer on that. All right, coming up to the Mountain West with my Boise State Broncos. They are the betting favorite right now, according to BetUS. But you see the fact they're the number 1 team, and then Fresno State, San Diego State, and the Air Force are next up. And the league knows this because the league has scheduled Air Force at Boise State and Fresno State at San Diego State the last week of the season. They used to have divisions. There's no divisions anymore. That would have been a Mountain Division, conference battle between Air Force and Boise State, and then a West Division, conference championship in essence, or division championship between Fresno State and San Diego State. Now they're just playing because they know whatever happens between those 4 teams is going to decide the league the last 2 weeks of the season. Boise State is plus 180, and there's a little bit of a jump here to Fresno State, plus 380. Fresno State does have to replace, NFL running back, NFL wide receiver, NFL quarterback, so they've got a lot they have to go through there. And then plus 400 on Air Force, who returns a lot of defensive guys, has to replace their fullback. Remember, in a triple option offense, the fullback is the main back, and then they also have to replace their quarterback. And then San Diego State down here, plus 700. They have to replace a lot of guys, especially on their scrappy defense. And then you've got, down here, Nevada, New Mexico, Hawaii, very low betting favorites. Colorado State's plus 1,600, better than I thought they'd be. San Jose State's plus 1,400, and then Wyoming's plus 1,200. But the top 4, you can see there's a clear delineation between them and everybody else. All right, the Pac-12, and I'm going to be honest here. The Pac-12 is one of the leagues that I have the least interest in betting on who's going to win it because it's just, you can see that from the lines. You're like, dude, nobody's going to make any money on any of these things because it basically, everybody's just going to be betting. There's just, that you can see that where the Big 12, it was even money for Texas, means they're like, this is like a 50-50 shot they're going to win the league. Pac-12 is crazy. There's a lot of teams are eligible. USC, Oregon, and Washington are at the top. Utah's trailing a little bit. However, you can see all the picks pay out reasonably well, which means they think the league is going to be a bloodbath, and I do too. So right here, if you bet $100 on USC and they win, you get $200. That's a pretty good payout. And then you have Oregon plus 320, Washington plus 320, Utah plus 600. Those four teams are at the top there. Oregon State 1,200, UCLA 1,200, Washington 400, Washington State 400, Arizona 800, Cal 800, or excuse me, 8,000, Colorado plus 10,000, Arizona State plus 10,000, Stanford plus 10,000. Hey man, take a chance on Colorado. You don't really, I don't know. It would be the one. If you were to take a flyer on any of these teams, I would take a flyer on Colorado before I take a flyer. Maybe, Kent State because the odds are just so good, but that's just me, man. That league right there, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be super interesting to watch, even if it is the last iteration of the Pac-12 that we recognize right now. All right, the SEC, and we it's pretty simple right here. We saw Georgia's schedule. They took Oklahoma off. Now, it doesn't affect them in their ability to win their league because there's league play and there's non-league play. So whatever they did, they could literally lose all of the non-conference games and then still probably be the heavy favorite to win the league because they're basically just going to walk to their record. They have to play at Tennessee and then home against Ole Miss within 8 days of each other. That's going to be an interesting 8-day period. But they're a heavy favorite because all they have to do is get to that championship game and beat the Western team. The West, in terms of the SEC, LSU and Alabama, they trail, and then there's a country mile to the next teams because it's pretty clear those three teams are above everybody else at this point. Georgia is not an even payout, so you would have to bet $115 to win $100. They are the heavy favorite at this point. And then you have Alabama, which pays plus 300, and then LSU, which pays plus 450. My favorite out of all these so far, if I had to bet somebody to win the league, LSU plus 450, my favorite. They do have to win at Alabama, but I think that they're capable of it. And remember, all they have to do is win their conference games, not necessarily non-conference games. So what they do against Florida State week 1 doesn't matter. And last but not least is the Sun Belt. The battle for the belt. South Alabama versus Troy leads at the top, and then Coastal Carolina, App State, and Marshall bring up the rear. Me personally, I just did a report on App State. I love me some App State. Got a good offensive line. Like what they're doing. And they scored 61 points against North Carolina last year. They gave up 63. But I like me some App State as a wild card out there. I haven't done enough research on South Alabama, Troy, Coastal Carolina, and Marshall. But you can check them out, man. The battle for the belt, man. South Alabama versus Troy. South Alabama's a slight favorite over Troy. And then Coastal Carolina, Marshall, and App State. And then a big jump down here. Nobody's giving UL Monroe a shot at all. Come on, man. But anyways, that rounds out all of those conferences and who the winners could be, what Vegas is thinking, and so on. If I'm putting money down, I like out of all of those lines that are out there, I like to win their league, to win the SEC. I like LSU plus 450. Jaden Daniels, a really freakishly good offense, multiple stars over there on defense. I like a lot of things that they're doing. Remember, they have to play at Alabama. Going to be tough. What they do against Florida State in that neutral site game week 1 means nothing in terms of conference seeding. All they have to do is get to the conference championship game. I like them versus, I know that Georgia dismantled them last season, but I like them because Georgia has to replace a lot. I would put my money out of all of those ones that are out there. I don't like the Pac-12, and there's just too many close teams and so on. The SEC, LSU to win the league plus 450. That's where I would put my money. All right, guys, get in the comments right now. What do you think about all of those leagues? Which ones do you like? Which ones you don't? What do you think Vegas is smoking crack? What do you think is going on here? You guys get in the comments and let me know what you guys think. But that's it for me, guys. I will see you guys later. I am out.